Welcome back to the Right Side of Grace podcast.
Am I supposed to say something now?
Say, my name's Rick.
Welcome back. My name's Rick.
And I'm Addie.
We're here today to discuss, kind of give you a recap of last week or podcast, and then kind of talk about some new stuff here today.
Sounds good.
All right.
So, I guess we'll recap. Last week we kind of talked about our testimonies, just getting to know us, and just what this podcast is about. Do you have anything else to say about that?
No, just a reminder, our goal is to be, conservative on the right side of politics. We're on the right side theologically. In our space of church life, we're on the right. In that circle, a lot of times people aren't nice that are on the right. Sometimes they're just mean. And so the goal is to kind of have a pun on the phrase right side of grace. We are on the right side of grace, that we received grace from God, but we're also on the right side of grace, meaning that we're conservatively right, and we're also gracious to those on the left.
We're right in love. Just kidding. Okay. So we're going to give a little bit of our life updates, what's been going on. So recently,
Yep.
My dad went to Africa and he was on Survivor. Just kidding.
We went with a kind of a ministry called Ministry Servants. It's a mission group, and our mission servants, I can't remember the actual name. But Bob Hildebrand is the guy who started the ministry, and maybe we'll put a link in our little transcript or whatever. But he's a member of North Campus. He's been a member since, I think, 1997. He's got a passion for the underprivileged. He had a very traumatic event happen to him when he was younger. And since that event, he just really wanted to pour into other people. And so part of that is he started an orphanage in Kenya and a school, and he wanted to start an orphanage in Uganda as well. He did that, I think, in 2007. And so now he has an orphanage with about 40 to 50 kids that stay on site. And then there's a school they just finished building. I helped them build some tables and desks for that school, and also was able to teach while I was there. But they will start in a few days, actually, with 140 students at the school they just finished building.
That's cool.
So it's really, really cool. And they do an amazing job of teaching the gospel to these kids. In Uganda, there's no public school that's free. You got to pay school fees everywhere. But you're in school with 130 people in the same class. In the classroom.
All ages?
No, they have different grades. Their grade system's fine, but there's 130 people in a classroom.
Oh, wow.
So they're not learning anything.
Yeah.
And so the private school tries to keep the class to 40 or less, which is still a lot by our standard, but
well, not really.
Well, a lot of public schools are in that 30 to 40 range, but it's intentional learning, so you can actually spend time with them.
That's cool.
And teach them. And they get 2 meals a day at the private school. It's a slightly more, but you're talking about like $10 a semester.
Oh, wow.
American money would be sufficient for a kid in Uganda to go. So it's just really a cool thing what Bob is doing, what Greg Perkins, they have teamed up, and they've done a great job with that ministry. And really, one of our Sunday school classes has kind of been the main supporter of this ministry. And so we're trying to figure out a way that our church can help. So
that's cool. Do you have any interesting stories of things that you were kind of shocked about, or?
Nothing I was shocked about. We did have we had Ralph the Mouse that was kind of with us the entire time.
Oh yeah, you got to tell him the story.
He was running around you just try to not to think about it a lot. So I was in a room with Rick Hackett and another guy named Jeff Milligan, and we're 3 of us in a room, and you have to sleep with these mosquito tents around your bed. But
it's like Survivor season 2, 3. No, season three.
Season three.
When
Yeah.
they're all sleeping under their tents.
If you can't tell, this is a big Survivor family.
No, I just started
She
watching.
just started watching all of them.
And I was watching season 2. Now I'm on season 3, and they're in Africa right now.
Are we Colby fans?
Am I a who?
A Colby fan?
Oh my gosh, of course. Love Colby.
Yeah. So anyway, Hackett, like this mouse crawls on him in the middle of the night and he throws him on my bed at me.
Oh
And
my
so-
gosh.
yeah,
I
so-
didn't know that.
Yeah. Threw him at me. And then I don't know where he went. We tried to catch him the entire time. And then Bob, we're watching the Notre Dame, Ohio State national championship in Africa. In the middle of the night, it's like 3 a.m. there while we're watching it. And Bob sees a mouse. He runs over to stomp it, but I think he just intended to shoo it away from his room into my room, and it went underneath the door into my room. And I don't know what happened.
Oh my gosh.
I don't
Did
know
you
if it-
sleep in there?
Well, I waited till the game was over.
There's no way.
So I think it ran out by that point, but you just had to put it out of your mind. I mean, it was there.
I don't think I could have
There were
done
a
that.
bunch. There was one time we were cleaning out the storage room that had all the wood in it. We were building the tables with, and these 2 rats run out of the storage room, and the kids, man, they're elated. They're excited. They got sticks and they're chasing after this. It's like Tom and Jerry, and they're just pummeling these rats. Pop, 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 pop. And they kill them. And I got a couple pictures of them in our little photo album, but they're just sitting there
Disgusting.
on the ground, laying on the ground next to each other. And one of the guys was with us. He's like, "Hey, what do you do with the rats when they die, when you kill them like that?" And I said, "Well, we'll throw them away." He said, "Well, okay, who throws them away?" He's interested. And the kids go like, one of us will throw them away. He's like, "Oh, well, when are you going to throw them away?" Like I want this to happen right now.
That's so
So
gross.
one of the kids, his name is Bakale. Bakale comes and grabs the tail of both the rats, one hand, and starts spinning them around like this and laughing as he takes them to the trash can.
That's so crazy.
It was funny. I loved it.
It's like when kids kill squirrels here.
Sure.
Our neighbor kills squirrels in the backyard.
Sure. Yeah, we just run around like this.
No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that.
Fuzzy tails and all.
It's so gross. Well, so that's cool that you got to go to Africa.
That was it. I had to teach like 3.5 hours every day, 3 days in a row. So 3.5 hours for 3 days. And they would sit after I get done teaching and just talk to me and ask questions. And
That's crazy.
it was really cool.
That is really cool.
So
I feel like that would not really happen a lot here.
yeah, they do a Q&A at the end. I actually had to leave before the kids do a Q&A with Bob, and then the kids range from like 4 years old
So
to like 17, 18, and they stay as orphans there. And then when the school's in session, they live at the school.
and does Bob stay there full time?
No, Bob lives here in the States.
Okay.
He goes back twice, used to go twice a year. He's not able to go back as much as he used to.
So
but-
do they have a full-time missionary there or no?
No, there's no full-time missionary there, but there's a full-time staff that
Okay.
live there. Emma is the pastor and schoolmaster, principal.
Is Emma a girl?
No, it's
Oh.
short for
I was
Emmanuel.
supposed to say what?
No, his name is Emmanuel, and they call him Emma.
Oh, cool.
So-
Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know if Bob was there full-time.
No, but he would probably do that. He would.
Does he live in Charlotte?
Yeah, lives in Highland Creek
Did not know that. That's cool.
or near Highland Creek.
Well, speaking of rats, I was just kidding. I was going to say Trump is back in office.
Oh.
That's the worst transition ever, Addie.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to make people upset. I'm just joking around. But anyway, now that Trump is back in office, what are your initial thoughts on his return?
He's doing exactly what he said he would do.
I feel like it's great.
No surprise there. Some people are shocked and surprised about him doing exactly what he said he was going to do. So he implemented tariffs, which he did before. He did that. I think what he did before was like in the billions of dollars. And then these tariffs are set to be in the trillions. So it's a little bit steeper, but it's the same method he's used before. But he really uses them more for leverage. Like I think the tariff he put on Mexico, the Mexican president already responded and sent troops to the border. And because of negotiations with her and Trump, between her and Trump, Trump agreed to put a stay for a month on the tariff. And that's already happened. And the tariffs have only been in place for like a day or 2 days.
I think they were signed on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I did
I mean,
see
it's
that.
already working, which is the point is using it for leverage.
Right.
And Mexico can't get in a trading war with us. They depend more on their exports to us than we do their import. Like it won't affect us that much. It'll affect us some. I mean, Mexico sends us a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But they're more dependent on the export than we are.
I do think it's cool though, because I feel like in the past, a lot of the presidents have just come in and they've been very slow to start. And I like how Trump's like just went in with his feet running. So I don't know. I think it's cool and it's been good.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you are, what's good or what's bad.
Yeah, that's true.
But he's definitely, at least he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. You shouldn't be surprised when he does the things he says he's going to do.
I think that should show kind of what America is like, though, that everyone is so shocked that for the first time a president has gone in and actually done the things that he said he was going to do so fast. I think a lot of times it's just like we just don't do anything, or we just, I don't know. I just feel like that's probably cool. And it's interesting to me that people are so shocked when that's just what they're supposed to be doing.
Dude, you get much do people talk about this at school, at your
Well,
college?
not in my degree, so no. Like, no one talks about politics. I'm going to be really honest. I'm not much of a political girl. Like, I don't know. I mean, I like read about it and I see it on the news, but I'm not really immersed.
Do you listen to any podcasts?
Not really. I try to listen to Al Mohler, but I don't really like it. Sorry.
I like the Daily Wire.
Not to be a hater.
It's pretty good.
But
Daily Wire's good.
Yeah, it's real short. It's like 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, maybe
There's multiple people talking, so it kind of keeps your interest. Not like this, where it's just us two. But, maybe
I should start listening to that. That's the one thing I wish that I was in more of a political field, because we don't talk about that. They just talk about Excel, how your brain rots on it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I think it's been good, though.
I do, too.
I think everybody gets kind of wigged out about the immigration. And, nobody is for the mistreatment of immigrants. And everybody's okay with immigrants. I think what happens is people can get upset with the illegal activity of people trying to get in the country without following the law. So it's already, at this point, the borders decreased the numbers it's 92% decrease from what it was when Biden was in office, of all the people still at the border. So
that's cool.
The numbers are extremely low. Of course, everybody's flipping out about Trump, deporting those he's really going after the criminals. But if you're in proximity of the criminal and you've overstayed your visa for 20 years and you get caught with the criminal, you're probably going to get deported too.
Yeah.
So he's going to be, they're not going to a school where they know 90% of the students are undocumented. They're not going to school, raiding schools, taking kids back. They're not doing that. They're going to, the criminals. But Trump's still way behind Obama in deportations. Like, Obama deported 3 million illegal immigrants.
Well, I did not know
that. It's only
that.
week 2, so
But he had 4 years in and only did 1 million.
That's true.
So he's still far behind the trajectory of what Obama did. So
correction, 4 years, 2 months, or 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. True.
Funny.
True.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't really see. I need to get more into politics. It's just not on the forefront of my mind.
I mean, the tariffs, those things they're taxes. What I think he wants to do is abolish the income tax. And that's what he's already stated, which would be good. And then use the tariffs as a tax, which it would still tax us in the long run. I mean, it's still a tariff is a tax. That's what it is.
How will he get rid of the income tax?
Well, he wants to abolish the IRS, wants to abolish income tax for people, federal income tax. So he just have to dismantle it. But he would use
that'll be interesting
tariffs,
for the accountants.
The tariffs everybody still needs them. It's more than just tax.
No. Oh.
But
you don't think I know?
I know you know. Sorry. But the tariffs, if they take the place of income tax, we're still paying taxes. We just get to choose when we participate with that. Like if we buy coffee or whatever, that's when you pay your taxes instead of at the end of the year, you got to pay whatever it is. You got to pay 30% or 40%. I mean, I don't have to worry about those high rollers. That's not the tax bracket I'm in.
Yeah. That's funny.
All right. Let's talk about something other than politics.
Yeah, politics is boring. Just kidding, it's not. But let's talk about your B6 sports ministry.
Yeah, so we started a sports ministry called B6 Sports. Blazi 6. There's 6 of us. Everybody's on the board in the family except for Jesse. He's not 18, so he can't be.
He's excluded.
our
Wait, what is let's go through who's the board. My mom's the president. I think that's really funny.
Jeannie's the president.
Because she's a woman. Is that why you did it? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, that is helpful.
No, she's the boss lady. She has to be the president.
Yeah.
Then what are you?
I would be the VP.
Okay. And Charlie's the what?
Charlie, I think, is the...
He doesn't even remember.
Treasurer. I can't remember.
Charlie's the treasurer?
Shelby's the secretary. You might be the treasurer. And he's like second VP.
If Charlie was the treasurer,
I think Charlie's second VP. You're the treasurer. Shelby's the secretary.
Interesting. You don't know
She didn't really like the fact that she was secretary. And I said, but yeah, you just need to document stuff. Don't you want to write? Sports. She wants to be a sports writer. She's fine with it.
So what is it?
So what we'll do is it's stuff I do already. I consult with a lot of churches who do sports ministries. We did it for 20 years, so I know a little bit about it.
I guess we should kind of say something to that, like where we kind of introduced ourselves last week, but you didn't really explain. He used to be a pastor at a different church in Georgia.
The one Addie thought was a good church.
It will go unnamed. I'm just kidding. I just don't want to get... Actually, I don't care. He worked there for how many years? 20 something?
18 and a half years, Praise Baptist Church in Douglasville, Georgia.
It was a great church. I'm not a hater.
Yeah.
There were some things about it that were interesting. And looking back, I do think it was an interesting place. But he served there for a long time, and he was the sports ministry director, as long as a million other things that he did there. But...
I was like, I called myself minister of miscellaneous. So I did a lot of things, kind of a Swiss Army knife kind of feel, like student ministry, adult ministry, sports ministry. I did a lot of the administration of the church. So like...
He didn't have no admin.
If I didn't have an admin, that's new. When I got here, I was like, that's great. Okay, do all the things I don't want to do anymore. I've done that for a long time. That's 20 years of my life. So if somebody else
wants to do that for me,
that's great. It's actually helpful. It gives me a chance to actually minister instead of having to make Excel spreadsheets and charts and, emails and all the things that I don't like to do. But anyway, long story short, I did that at Praise Mill. We were one of the first 100 churches at Upward Ministries, Upward Sports. I don't know if you know anything about Upward, but I have a plaque packed up somewhere in my boxes somewhere in the office.
Mom probably threw it away.
Probably did, but we were the first 100 churches of Upward Sports. And we did basketball. We had about 300 kids in our basketball league. Cheerleaders, we had like 50 cheerleaders. We did flag football and soccer. I never wanted to get in baseball and softball.
We never did.
No, because it's too big of an animal. Like,
I
there's
love
just too many moving pieces to
Yeah.
deal with it. And plus people get crazy about softball and baseball.
That's true.
Yeah.
I never
They
even
like to climb
realized.
fences and attack you. And
Oh, okay.
well, I mean,
Everything's personal with baseball and softball.
Yeah. Like soccer
That's why I
in
didn't
Georgia,
like it.
nobody knows the rules. So the refs are safe.
Some
Basketball, they scream at you because everybody knows basketball rules. But baseball rules, those guys, man, there's 150 rules that you have to know and every little nuance. And then everybody thinks they know the nuanced rules and they don't. And they yell at everybody.
And then
And
you got
keep-
the strike zone. Everything is
Yeah.
up to like
That
the
is
person's
completely
eyes.
subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and keep in mind, he had a bunch of 10-year-olds reffing.
no, I didn't have 10 years.
I'm just kidding, but we all
Everything was
once we
volunteer.
got older, we all started chipping in. But like I didn't really because I was still young.
Plus we did camps in the summer. And so we would have a spiritual emphasis. We do like soccer in the morning, have like a lunch and have a devotion, and then have basketball in the afternoon where it's hot inside.
It was very
in
fun.
AC. We did a lot of that. So my goal would be as the B6 Sports is to help churches develop camps and ministries, go overseas. We did a lot of camps in Ecuador, soccer camps, basketball camps. They like basketball in Ecuador as well. But be able to use that knowledge and help churches put on not just VBS overseas, but like actual sports camps. We've had a lot better numbers attending a sports camp than would attend VBS. Imagine that. But
I think that sports has an interesting way of creating a great opportunity to share the gospel and just to like have those people that aren't necessarily going to be presented with the gospel in their lives and for them to have like a connection with it. I know for like when we were younger and having those sports camps and going to those things, a lot of my friends from school that weren't Christians would come and they loved it. And I think it was just a way for them to see like, oh, like there is normal people out there that are also Christians. I think that's something that people struggle with, and they think that you have to be some perfect person. But I think once you go to events like that or just are a part of something in that light, it's easier to see that like, you know, they're just normal people like me. So I think it's a cool way to share the gospel.
And it's also like we want to make sure that churches that want to involve themselves in sports
are doing it right
and do ministry. You don't just give it to a referee, you know, conglomerate or some kind of association and allow them to, you know, put their referees. The referee controls everything. So what we want to do is help train the referees to like, this is a church league. This is a gospel-centered ministry that we want to, you know, approach reffing in a certain way. So we want to help the kids get better. This is not an NBA mill. We're not trying to put people into the next level.
Straight to the league.
But we are trying to teach them how to play sports with character and also reflect the glory of God. So we want to help the kids get confidence. Every kid have an opportunity. We want to help the referees be able to communicate what the rules are clearly, but also with grace, but actually call the violations. Like I've been to so many leagues and they just let the kids run around with the ball and I can't, it drives me insane. I can't, like there's rules for a reason and you have to enforce those rules and you teach kids how to follow the rules. And when they break the rules, they have a penalty against them and then you can use that to actually teach the gospel. Yeah. Like that's how you can work that in. So we're here to help churches understand how to do that in a good way. And, you know, it's a nonprofit organization. We're in the midst of getting our approval. We've submitted all our forms. We're just waiting to hear back for the final approval for our nonprofit status. And then we'll be able to support us.
So do you want to like explain how people could support us or get involved or like?
Yeah, we'll be able to put out a QR code or a link to our nonprofit. And once you can donate like you would donate to any nonprofit, church or whatever, we would send you a receipt that you donated. It's a tax deductible donation and you can donate in that way. Our goal would be to not charge churches, to not charge ministries because it would be, it could be expensive to consult with people, but to not charge those churches, to help them, to be able to send you overseas to Ecuador to help run a camp for the church, help them, you would organize the volunteers and tell the church what they need to bring and what they need to have.
Yeah.
We have partnerships with other ministries like the gospel ball. So like a soccer ball with the gospel on it or a basketball with the gospel on it. And we leave those behind. But we would help churches be able to, we would send one representative from our ministry to go help churches do this overseas or even at their own church in the summer. We had great success with bringing kids in. I mean, big numbers of kids that would even pay to be there and hear the gospel at the same time.
I think people don't always realize just how impactful, or how hand in hand sports and having a relationship with the Lord go, I guess, if that makes sense. But just how great of a tool it is for us as Christians to use and share the gospel with people. Because I think sports bring so many different types of people together. You'll have people on your team from so many different backgrounds. And so I think it's cool that something like that brings us all together. And I don't think churches use that as much as they should. And I think this would be a really good opportunity for people to just come in and say, hey, this is what it did in our church. This is what it can look like. And this is how you can do it. And it's not you're asking a lot. I think it's something that's very doable. And the more that you're like shown about it, it's going to be the easier it is to get. And I think it'll be really beneficial.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I'm looking forward to it.
I think it's cool. A good idea.
Speaking about that, can I start asking you some questions?
Oh.
You asked me a lot of questions last week. Think I could,
Yes.
I have questions about college. Like, how is it being a Christian in college?
I don't know. I think I have a very mixed view on it because I did go to a school and I was away from home for a year, and then I came back and now I do live at home. So I think when I lived away, I definitely could see, like, I went to a Christian school, so I was still like, I would go to chapel, but I could see like how easy it is to just like not care and not get plugged in. And I think it was really hard for me to find a good church down where I was going to school. And so I think it was just a struggle for me to find a good community. And I think that's what's really helped me now, like as a college student, like being a Christian, is just having such a strong college ministry to come to and to be a part of at Hickory Grove, and just like having like-minded people. And
did you, were you able to find any like-minded people because you played sports?
Yes. So I played lacrosse and golf at Truett McConnell University in North Georgia. And I only played for a year, but I had such great friends there. And I think I didn't leave Truett because I didn't have good friends. I think that was not even on my mind.
Actually really
it was really hard for me to not go back. But I think
it was just money.
Yeah, it was very expensive and I just didn't want to be in debt the rest of my life. But I think that like ultimately having like lacrosse and having golf and doing those things, I had great friendships. And I think a lot of those girls were very solid believers, but I still was missing that like church community and just like good teaching. And I went to a church and the pastor was great, but it was just hard because it's hard when you go from being like a pastor's kid and your dad, like being like one of the pastors and people knowing who you are. And like, it's just hard to start all over from scratch again. And so like when you're trying to do that, and then on top of that, in that culture of that area, a lot of the churches are not, I wouldn't say they're not solid, but a lot of them have interesting theology. And so it's something that was really important to me as a Christian to find a church that has solid theology. And so that was kind of hard for me to find. And I think that's where I really struggled with finding a church. Yeah. And so...
Plus, I think you get used to where your church does.
Yeah,
and you can
Hickory
almost
Grove,
like carry over, like, you don't do it this way. So some of it's just preference.
Right.
And some of it is actual theological issues or, maybe style of preaching where they're maybe topical and we're used to expository.
And that kind of stuff, I don't know if I'm like super picky on my preaching type. Like, I mean, I do think expository is very good, but like, I still feel like sometimes like Pastor Clint, like, is not like, there's just some, I don't know. I'm not super picky on how. I just think I would struggle because a lot of the pastors were very just,
well, it's hard to listen to Clint every week and then go listen.
Yeah. And it's like, I would try not to compare my church that I'm trying to find to, you can't compare. You can't compare it to Hickory Grove because Clint is so good and Kyler's so good and whoever's speaking is always good. So it's just hard. And I think you have such a deep sense of community when you're with your family and also like just people that you've been with for years. And so when you can't find that, I do think that's hard. But there was a lot of good ministries that I went to. And I think when I started playing lacrosse and I became good friends with a lot of the girls on the team, they were super solid believers and they would take me to, there was this event on Thursday nights that we would go to. And that was when I really started to enjoy. And I felt like, okay, like I really like this, but it was just like it was kind of just like a big, like college, like a Sunday night dinner, but it was more of like a guy would get up on the stage and speak, but it was very community driven. And that's what I think I liked about it. And so I think to be a Christian in college is hard, but I also think it's your choice to make it hard for yourself. Like, I think if you're a Christian and you're like, man, like it's just too hard to be a Christian, I think that is on you. I think, yes, there's a lot of challenges, but I also think you put yourself in positions that make it hard for yourself. So like for me, I try and find like my closest friends are all believers. And I know, and I'm fully for being friends with unbelievers. Like I'm not against that at all. But I think when I'm struggling and I'm really going through something, those are who I go to. And so I think when you're putting yourself in situations where you feel like you're uncomfortable, like then I can see why it would be super hard to be a believer and be in college. But I think
what's been the most helpful?
I think just being a part of a community and having like girls around me that are all strong believers and just having a good church. Like, I think honestly, my church has been the most important thing. I think when I first came back from Truett and I was going to Charlotte, I really was struggling because I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I didn't know if I was supposed to be at Charlotte and if that was where the Lord wanted me. I felt like I knew better every single time. I'd be like, I know I'm not supposed to be here. I know I'm not supposed to be at Charlotte. And I kept telling myself that because I wasn't like a part of my church. Like, I felt like that was a part of my life where I was super distant. And I like didn't want to go to the college dinners and I didn't want to really hang out with people from church because I was comparing it to all these different things. And I think once I truly like realized like, no, like the Lord has me here for a reason. And then I just kind of embraced that. And now I am a part of my college ministry. Obviously my dad runs it, but like genuinely like putting effort in and enjoying it. I think that's what's kind of helped me be more content in my walk with the Lord and just like being in college and being a Christian and not falling into like a bunch of worldly things.
What's like the least helpful? Like what are some things that like you wish you never did, or maybe even just somebody offered you and you're like, that's not helpful at all?
Like, what do you mean?
I mean, like, as trying to find the community or trying to plug in Christian community, what was the least helpful, either advice you got or things that you tried, some things that just fell flat when you...
I don't know. I think when I was trying to find a church, I would struggle because the church that I actually liked the pastor at, the Sunday school was just not good. Like there was just, it was very small and the teacher there was really, I don't know. I think...
Say it. He probably ain't gonna watch this.
Yeah, he was just not very good. And so it was just hard for me to go. And I think one of the things that kind of crippled me a little bit was that I just held on to the pastor that was good. And I think I kind of ignored the Sunday school aspect of it. And I think what is really important is having that community group, because churches are so big. And I think when you go to a church that's like has a lot of people, it's sometimes hard to go and just go to the service and genuinely be plugged in. But when you're like actively going to Sunday school or going to community groups or whatever you call it, and you're creating relationships with people, then I feel like it's way more easier to actually enjoy the church. And so for me, when I was in Georgia, I wasn't really looking for that small community of believers. I was looking for the pastor. And I think, yes, it's super important to go to a church that has strong theological sound teachings, but I also think you have to make sure that you're not blinded by one thing.
You would say the community can override.
Yeah, because I think ultimately, like, the pastor is super important in what he teaches, but as long as he's like teaching the gospel and he's not being heretical and saying a bunch of stupid stuff, I just think that knowing what's important is the community, and knowing that like when you have genuine connections with people, it's way more important to me than having a super theological sound pastor that's
Dynamic,
SBC breaded or whatever, like whatever it is. But like, I just think that's something that I really struggled with, because I was just seriously sitting there going, okay, well, he's really good at teaching, so that's all that matters. So Sunday school is fine. And I didn't build relationships with any of those people because they just weren't people that I would connect with. And maybe that's my own sin, and it probably is. But I also think there's groups out there that there are. And I think...
Do you think that makes you more inclined to, like, when somebody new comes into Sunday school, are you more inclined to seek them out and make them feel comfortable, or are you still kind of
I struggle because I think I'm fine to talk to new people. That's not my issue. But I have an issue of like talking to somebody and then I'm like, I'll talk to them like the first time I see them, or I have a bad problem of like continuing that relationship. Okay. Like I think I like see that more in myself, where I'll like talk to them when they first come and then I'm like, okay, well, I want to go back to my friends.
Do you feel the same way?
100%.
Like similar
100%.
like experience with going to Wingate?
Yeah. I stayed at Hickory Grove. I went to Wingate. Hickory Grove's only like 40 minutes away. And so I kept my community at Hickory Grove. I was in a different situation because I was serving in like student ministry as a teacher at the time.
That's right.
And so
that's true.
I had community, well, with my teachers, but all of my teachers were like, my co-teachers were years older than me.
Right.
And so not having the Sunday morning community and only having my community on like Sunday night was difficult. But then I graduated college during COVID. And this was like right after the Blazis had moved up here that we didn't really have college ministry. And then we started it back up right after I graduated college. And so there wasn't a lot of like relational community that I had.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't a ministry to connect with. And everyone that I was around consistently was 30s, 40s. They weren't old, but they were older than me.
Well, that is the struggle, I think, is, you want people that are like-minded, but also your age.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you're in a church, and especially in...
Is there any benefit, though, to having somebody...
1,000%. I think when I'm really going through something that's really tough and I don't know, of course I go to my friends, but I really seek out the older people in my life, like my mother or one of the pastor's wives at church. Like, there's people at church that I think that are older than me, that are way wiser than me, that I would, like, of course I would ask my friends about it, but at the same time I know, like, I wouldn't.
Sometimes your peers.
Yeah, and they also,
they give you the same advice that you're thinking, it's just not good advice. I need somebody that's been through it on the other side.
Like, I think not like once you get in a relationship with somebody, I think you shouldn't be going to your friend who's been in a relationship the exact same time as you. Like, I think you should go to somebody that's like very wise and has probably been married for 30 plus years because they just know more. And like at those times, I really value those relationships. And I think it is super important to connect with the older generation, but also like you want to have a balance, just like everything in life. You want to be able to balance those things. And so not only being friends with older people and also having friends your own age or younger than you or whatever it is. I think that's also true too. It's where you can, like Allie was saying, like you can pour so much into like a student ministry and then lose your own ministry.
Not have anybody pour into you or have that peer to peer connection.
100%. Like most of my friends now are kids that I serve or like we're serving or in student ministry.
Yeah.
Because there was no like thriving college ministry. Like I'm like 4 years older than Addie.
Yeah.
But all of my friends are younger than me because there was no thriving college ministry. But I've built really great relationships. And now that we're in the season of life that we're in, we are more like peer-to-peer relationships.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just kind of how it was.
Well, all my friends are younger than me too. I'm the old man.
You are old.
Yeah,
you are old. I forget.
Yeah.
But it is
you said
true.
You forget? That's a good thing.
Yeah. I always forget that you're like almost 50.
You don't act 50 in the slightest.
Praise the Lord. Thank you.
Maybe 60.
I'll give you. Oh,
I have.
Man. I thought it was going to be a compliment. But
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that's really true.
Well, let me ask you this. So you spoke a lot about it. Were there any, maybe temptations or distractions that you think you personally or other college students your age may struggle with?
Yeah. I think there's always a pull to go to the worldly, like do the worldly things with your friends. I think especially my first year when I was away and I wasn't home and I would like be there with them on the weekends. There's always that, oh, like I should go to that. I need to make more friends. And it's like, those are things that you have to discern. I also think there's a way as Christians that we can be involved in those things, but show that we're not going to, crack our morals just because everyone else around us is doing it. I think like my brother Charlie is a great example of that. He went to a college in South Carolina and he was on a football team. So all of his friends were unbelievers. Not one of them was a believer, but
he had like one.
Yeah. But like he stood there and he would hang out with them. He'd do all this stuff with them, but he never wavered from his faith. And I think that was always a testament to me, like my brother who can go through all these things with these people. Like, why would I, like, what's the point for me to do that? And so I think like you can definitely, I think Christians should be friends with unbelievers because I think there's a benefit. And I think all of Charlie's friends would attest, but they would all like say, like, why won't he just like, do these things with us? And Charlie's just like, it just doesn't interest me. And I think that was something that I've always looked up to. And I think like all Christians should be able to do that. If you are genuinely wanting to follow after the Lord and being able to, know what you want to do and know how you want to live your life and still be able to hang out and enjoy things with those people, but not make it to where it's like a judgment thing. Like, oh, I'm judging you for drinking alcohol or whatever it is, or doing something stupid. Like, it's just like you're living away and you are just almost like an example. I don't know if it would be an example.
Yeah.
or just living your life the way that you feel the Lord has led you to, but not
just staying strong.
Yeah.
In what you know is right.
Yeah, but not hiding from the unbeliever.
Things.
I think
not hiding from the unbeliever. Yeah. Not they know they're pulling judgment on themselves. It's not like I'm judging them; they're judging themselves.
Yeah.
But there's a way in which you can behave that doesn't condone any activity that's ungodly, and you don't participate in it. But you can spend time with people who are not believers and have an effect on them. Like I think it was really kind of cool. Charlie got an opportunity to preach at a church down there, and every one of his buddies came and heard him. And those guys,
they ain't going to church.
Foot in church, and at least since they went to college, some of them maybe grew up in church, but some of them didn't grow up in church and went just because Charlie was preaching.
And I think it's like I've never, obviously I'm not an unbeliever, so I haven't experienced being a friend with somebody that's unbeliever, but I've had a lot of unbelieving friends. And I think sometimes I enjoy hanging out with those people more than my believer friends. Sometimes, not all the time. But I just think them knowing that you're going to be there for them all the time, no matter what, is something that I think is really valuable. I think I would want...
You can still be a friend.
Yeah, I would want that person to be able to come to me no matter what and ask me for advice or tell me something that they might think that I'm going to, whatever it is. And I think that's important because then I think a lot of people, or a lot of times we take for granted those friendships and how much you can affect that person and maybe potentially lead them to Christ.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, let me ask you this. What encouragement would you have for a student that might be listening? What would you say? Try to wrap it up. You've been talking real long today.
No, sorry. I think honestly, I would just say get in community. I think we learned that a lot about that at CrossCon, but church is so very important. I think that's something that we kind of take for granted a lot of times because sometimes we get super annoyed with it and we get annoyed with people in it. But I think at the end of the day, those people are going to be there for you. And it's really important to just build a community. And I think don't be one-sided, or what's the word when you're blinded to one thing?
Spot.
Yeah, don't have blinders on. Don't just sit there and have I can only do this because this is what I feel like I need to do. I think just be open to things and yeah.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right. Well, we have some things here on your reaction corner
yes.
that you titled last time.
Well, we kind of already spoke about
right. I was going to say
the tariffs and the immigration. The only thing that I kind of thought was cool from the tariffs was just the Fox News quoted or said that Trump just wants the American people to benefit. And I just thought that was cool because I'm yes, the tariffs kind of are whatever. People have their opinions. But at the end of the day, he wants to stop all these bad things from happening.
Yeah. I think there's unfair balances what people tariff our goods, but we don't tariff their goods. Mm-hmm. So there needs to be some balance. I think he uses those tariffs as more of a leverage.
I do too.
Kind of he threatens people. He did it with Colombia before. Did it with Mexico. It actually worked for Mexico. Even now, today, they postponed the tariffs for a month because Mexico's actually doing something about what he wants them to do something about. So, and really, those countries, if they retaliate, there's actual retaliatory, things already embedded into the tariffs that they've already imposed. So, it is a tax. It will affect us some immediately. We'll feel some effects from it in the short term, but I think in the long run, it'll benefit. I mean, he did it before. It's not something new. He did it in his first term. So it's same thing. Second verse.
Yeah.
All right. Confirmation hearings. You know anything about those?
Well, I don't really know much about them. I just saw a few things about it. The only thing that I thought was super interesting about them, I haven't watched the past ones, so I don't really know if this has been a thing, but I thought it was interesting to see how much social media is a play in them and how they use social media as blackmail, very hard. And so I thought that was really interesting to see just how they...
What do you mean blackmail?
Well, they'll just show, I guess, what's the guy's name? Cash Patel. When he was talking about, I don't know what he said. I've never what?
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about.
I don't know.
Like he wants to do away with the FBI.
Well, he had said
sell the building.
He said something that he had never said anything about something, and he ended up like they like posted his tweet, and it was just like him basically supporting. He was saying that he has never supported some organization, something, I don't know. And it was his tweet basically saying that he supported it. Yeah. And I just thought that was interesting that they used it against him. And it shows you,
they're going to.
like, well, yeah, but it shows you, like, you have to be so careful what you post on social media.
That's true. All right. Well, what about plane crash?
Oh, I think that's really, really sad.
Isn't it terrible?
It is really sad.
Did they find all the bodies? I know the last time I checked, they found,
I don't know,
like 40.
I know they said they wanted to, but I know that, was it, who was it that was on? It was a team that was on the plane?
So yeah, it was I don't know if it was necessarily a team, but they were all like gymnasts, or no, ice skaters.
It was ice skaters.
They were members
of
the U.S. figure skating team. They were in
Yeah,
Kansas City for a competition.
Though too, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
They were there for a clinic or a competition. So, but 55 of the 67 bodies have been
55
recovered.
of the 67.
Wow.
As of like yesterday.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And isn't there a survivor or no?
No.
No survivors?
No survivors.
Oh, I thought they said. Okay.
Not that I've heard.
That's on. No, that's
well,
probably,
the way it crashed and the temperature of
the water.
There was no way that.
Yeah, it was pretty much immediate.
So I think it's so crazy.
Terrible.
Not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything, but I do think I'm like in my head because so everything was fine. It was a routine flight. Like the conditions were fine. The like completely visible. And I just don't understand how the helicopter runs into it.
Yeah, I don't know what the final findings are. So there's in the airplanes, all the commercial flights in America, they're all super safe, and they're protected with technology that won't let them run into other planes. Like it alerts them. But at a certain altitude, those things don't operate as well.
I don't know about that.
About what?
Are you sure that's what it is?
The technology?
No, not the technology, but I'm just saying in this case.
I don't know what happened. I know that some people said that, I think Trump said the helicopter was too high. It should have been.
It was flying like 100 meters above where it was supposed to.
That's why I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes out about that helicopter, because I feel like something was weird within the helicopter, because in my head, I'm thinking a helicopter can move way quicker than an airplane, obviously. Like they can move.
There were two planes coming in. From what I've read, there were two planes coming into Reagan. One was landing, one was taking off. There was not enough air traffic control going on, so that they're supposed to have one for helicopter, one for planes. Yeah. They only had one for both. And so they called out to the helicopter for like visual confirmation that they saw the plane that it ended up crashing into. They saw the other one. There was apparently
a miscommunication.
That's what I've seen, that there was a miscommunication about which plane. And
they got the black boxes now, so they should be able to.
Yeah, I want to hear what was going on in that helicopter.
I just hate it. It's just terrible.
It's awful. And then there was a guy. And there was a guy from our town that was on the plane. Who's flight attendant.
Yeah, a guy from Harrisburg.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think as a Christian? How should we?
Man, it's hard because it's hard to look at somebody when their kid or husband died or wife and say, well, you just have to trust the Lord. I think that's hard.
Yeah.
So it's like I struggle in these situations because I think it's just tough. Like it's sad, and I don't know how I would respond if that was one of my family members that were on the plane, and I think it's just hard to speak on that. Because I don't know, that's a hard.
It's a tough thing, man. Like only thing you never. There's almost nothing you can say in moments like that, especially right after tragedies. The only thing you can say is that there's no tragedy that's ever wasted.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a purpose to all things. It's difficult to hear that, but it would also be terrible to think that. Something can happen outside of God's power and for no reason, for absolutely no reason, for absolutely outside of God's control. He can do anything about it. So there is some level of comfort knowing that there is a purpose. We may not understand it and have a clue, or it doesn't make sense to us, but God's doing a million things at one time that we don't understand. And so there is tragedy there, but there is some purpose to it, some kind of providence that one day will come to light. But it's terrible. I hate that.
It's really sad.
Probably time for us to wrap up. Any final thoughts on today's episode?
No, I thought it was good.
Okay. Anything to add?
I don't think so.
You want to tell anybody about what's coming up next?
I don't know what's coming up next.
Great planning, Addie.
Oh, I guess we could talk. Well, next we can talk about. I have my first. What would you call it? I don't know how I could call it, but I'm doing charcuterie for our event. Right. I guess I could talk about that because I am a little bit stressed.
Leading an event at church. So.
I'm leading a portion, small portion.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. People and food is always important.
Yeah, 480. I found out this morning. I almost threw up.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be fun. What we can also talk about the fever. The fever.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about that.
We can talk about it next episode.
Yeah, we'll talk about it
next episode. They made a lot of moves, made some trades.
I think a lot of good moves.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. See maybe some reactions, and you can give us a full report about the fever next week.
We might need a guess for that.
Maybe we should encourage our listeners to ask us questions, and maybe even subscribe, share.
Don't share.
Like, put the notification bell on.
I think that actually
drop a 5-star review.
I do realize how terrible it sounds for people to ask you to do that, but I think it does help, right? It helps.
I don't know.
Podcast.
Just please support us.
Support Addie.
Oh yeah, support me.
All right. That's last on the right side of grace.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Cut.
Oh, we didn't shake.
Oh, it's okay.
Oh, it's okay.
Should we shake hands now?